Hey, what's up? Nick here, and I'm back with another devlog for my game Inspire, a stylized top-down shooter which I'm developing on my own. The game's development is currently moving closer and closer to release, and therefore today I want to take a look into the workings of the player character. So basically have a look at you, the player, what you can do, how you can do it, and how basically behind the scenes everything works. So let's head over to Unity and see how everything is set up. Well then, here you are. This is who you'll be playing as in the game Inspire. You're a bionically enhanced character, and the cool thing about it is you can, utilizing your bionic arm, you can get all kinds of cool abilities. In the lore of the game, you have been operated because you got a promotion at your job at Collector Corp, and everybody who gets that promotion gets to choose a bionic upgrade. And you've chosen for a bionic arm, and this arm will allow you to do all kinds of abilities, use all kinds of weapons and do all kinds of cool stuff. Since it is the main character and the most important thing of the game, you can see there are a lot of different scripts here which are all doing their own little thing, and some of these things are also just really small, so it's not like a lot of different things are happening, and of course some are subject to change. But I thought in this video would be cool to have a look at how the actually workflow of the player is. One of the main scripts of the player is the player controller husband script. Of course, husband is what I use as a sort of namespace for all the things so I can distinguish them really easily. And basically this script tells the player all that he can do. It's telling you how to traverse around the world, what the input is like, how quick he should rotate. Basically everything starts from this player controller husband script. And also some abilities that require different kind of speeds, they will be used here. So we can go briefly through the script so you can see a little bit of what's going on. First we set all the values that we need, and then in my case, because the player will get reloaded every time a new scene starts, of course the inventory is a different story. Everything gets set at start and update whenever I need it. And then it's basically just some inputs for whenever I press the right, left or middle mouse button with the shooting. And also some little checks to see if the player is on the ground, so he isn't able to shoot when he's jumping or jetpacking. And then here's the movement set, WASD movement, but also this is already set up for controller as well, because I like to play with controller. Some little tweaks I have to finalize before I can actually put it out for the controller on Steam, so that's a little bit things that I still have to do. And these are just some, like, you can't copy them, but they're really specific to my game, how I like the player to rotate and how to move and how quick everything goes. And these are all small little changes to allow me to have certain abilities to set different values, like decrease, increase the speed, and sometimes I want the player to be stopped in place. For instance, there's like a shock ability that one of the enemies does. Then here I can set an animator trigger and also reduce the move speed for a certain amount of time. And of course one small function to aim towards the mouse, which is always really important, which also derives from the get world position on plane, because I need to have the mouse position on the terrain. And then there's also some unused variables here that I might even remove altogether, as just have a hit animation playing, but for now that's not what I'm using anymore. Of course I won't go into all the scripts in detail because that would take way too much time. For instance, like there's a quest journal here with basically the name says it already. Position saver is just to save the position whenever he moves scene, so he comes back at the right position. Proximity selector is also a way of knowing if the player is close enough to interact with something. Some emitters for audio, character controller, player jump. One thing I do want to highlight is this player stat script, and not necessarily everything was going on here because those are pretty self-explanatory, but this resistance field. The game now, since a few weeks, it has all kinds of damage types, and the player can have certain resistances, and basically every entity in the game, every enemy, every animal, every friendly can have certain resistances. And with this system that I made, it's really easy for me to set up. I can just tweak these faders. Also, of course, the consumables in the game are tailored to the system as well. So instead of have the consumables just restore health, they can also add certain resistances that, as long as you stay in the same zone, will be applied, which I think is a really cool incentive to find different kinds of food, different kind of consumables. And also certain guns use certain damage types and certain enemies use certain resistances. And you can already see which kind of, I guess you can see how this will really make the game a little bit more strategic and give you an incentive to try different kind of weaponry in your arsenal. And then here is of course something that's also pretty self-explanatory. Use damage numbers, which basically is a system to show the actual damage numbers that you're doing. I know that some people like it, some people don't, so the option is here. So that's basically the player stat script. So here's the player in game. He's entered a beautiful jungle biome and we can just move him around WSD wise, and you can see there's quite a bit of smooth motion going on in the player character, and that's being done by some procedural animation. Like, it's actually using a walking animation of course and just some regular animations, but they're getting smoothed over with the procedural animation, which I think looks really cool. You can use a jetpack by using shift. And again, you see when even with the WASD keys, which are either on and off, you can see there's still some smoothing going on, which I really like. Of course, with space we can jump, and we can also combine the jump with the jetpack. Now, if I do some developer magic and give myself some guns, I can also equip some guns, aim, and then keep aiming at the direction while still being able to move with some good animations. And as I talked about before, there are some small little functions in place to be able to slow the player or put the player still in place, and that's quite useful, especially for a gun like this one, which is like quite a chunky gun. When you shoot this one, the player gets moved back a few frames, and it just shows that there's a bit more weight to it. And that's basically how the player movement goes in my game Inspire. So then if we zoom in a little bit, we can see the player of course a little bit closer. And then once I press the T button, which is like the flashlight button, I didn't want to have the player to hold his own flashlight, so I gave him a little companion. So you can see it's your own little robotic companion. I got inspiration from Death Stranding. I thought it would be really cool to have a companion for the player. If you zoom out a little bit, he can also do some other things. You already saw him like transforming in a jetpack, because his little face is actually the jetpack. But he can also do another trick, which is when I set the flashlight off, he can shoot some rockets. And they are homing rockets which you can periodically use. And of course he can also become the jetpack. So I thought that would be cool as a companion for the player. So it's not too much in the way of the player, but it's actually just a cool little tool / companion. Like a lot of people, I've also been playing Diablo 4, and one thing I really did like were the shrine abilities that Diablo 4 had. And so I wanted to try if I could make something similar for my game, and it was actually not super difficult. It was more of finding a way of how it would work in the workflow of my game, or in the game flow of my game. So the way I set it up, every time you defeat a alien creature, there's a percentage chance of that you can get a power-up, and the power-up is basically a different extra ability. And of course, again, doing some development magic, I can do them via a key press. There are a few abilities that you can get. One is that you get a shield, so you will basically be invincible. One is a really cool explosion, and basically explodes everything in a radius around the player, which I think is a really handy tool whenever you going around, because you can really be more aggressive when this one is at your arsenal. Another one is an electric ability, which is really cool. It shoots like electrical projectiles outward, and that's also really cool because you can then feel that much more powerful against the enemies that you will come across. Got myself a gun, got some abilities. Let's see how we'll do against some enemies. That's one down. Some help from this panther, but now he has targeted me. Could have gone worse. Let's see. Let's try another gun. Let's try the big gun. Let's see if we can find some more enemies. Sorry, Panther. Now, of course, these guns can also be upgraded and altered, but that's something for a next devlog. For now, I'm just gonna try to shoot some more enemies. Time for the outro. I hope you liked this deep dive into the player character and all the behind the scenes work of the player character. I can't wait to share the game with you in a few months. It will take a little bit of time for me to finalize everything, but I think the game is turning out really well. If you want to support me as a developer, please head over to Steam and wishlist the game. Wishlisting shows Steam how much interest there is for the game. It wouldn't cost you a thing until you buy the game when it's finalized. But that's all for me this week. I hope you're having an awesome week and I see you all on the next video. Take care. Bye bye.